Hello again and welcome back to our course on Project 2019. In this section we're going to take a look at templates. Now you've already seen these thumbnails many times before and I'm just on the new screen here, and I can choose from one of these available templates and use that as a starting point for a project. I spoke to you earlier on in the course about how you can search for online templates, and I do suggest that you experiment with some of these templates. Now, if I were to choose one of these, and let's say we're going to choose the residential construction, I can click on it to select it, and it gives me a little bit of a description so I can decide if this is actually the template that I want to use. So I can see here it says, plan a single family house construction project from design to landscaping with this template. So if I decide that I want to use that one, which I do, I then just click on that big create button. And this gives me a really good starting point for a project plan for a residential construction. Now, one aspect of this template, and in fact it is quite a common aspect of these general templates, is the way in which the timeline is used effectively to show phases in the project. And I think that the way that the timeline has been used in this particular project to give you a really good overview is a really effective way to use the timeline. And that in turn is a good explanation of the value of looking at the templates that are available and seeing the ways in which various people have set their projects up and used features like the timeline. It gives you some really good ideas that you can utilize in your own projects. Now, what I'd like to look at in this section is how you can use one of your own projects as a template. And in the example, I'm going to use the wedding plan. So let's suppose I've got the wedding plan to a point where I'm really happy with it, and although I appreciate that every wedding is different, there is enough content in that wedding plan, which is common to many weddings I think, that will be a really good starting point for planning somebody else's wedding. Now what I'm going to do then is save the wedding plan as it is now as a template, and I'm going to show you how you can then make that template available for use in future projects. So here I have version 18 of the wedding plan. I've removed the passwords that I put on in version 17, and we're going to save this version as a template for future weddings. Now before we do that, it's very important to establish the folder in which our personal templates are going to be stored. So first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to go into options, and we're going to go to the save page of the options. And we're going to look at one of the options that I haven't talked about before, and that is Save Templates. So this section down here. You will almost certainly, particularly if you have a new installation of Project 2019, have nothing in this box. And in order to be able to use personal templates effectively, you need to specify a folder. Now there is a standard folder that you can specify here, and I'm going to point that out to you right at the end of this section. But for the moment and for the purpose of this demonstration, what I'm going to do is use the course files folder as my personal templates folder. So I'm going to click on Browse. And there is now my folder location where I'm going to store my templates. And I'm going to click on OK. So having established my personal templates folder, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up to File. I'm going to go down to Save As. I'm going to click Browse. And if I change my Save As type down here from MPT to Project Template, which will give it an MPT file extension, you'll see that it's automatically reverted to my Project 2019 course files folder at the top there. So it knows that that's the default location to save template files into. Now, what am I going to call this template? Well, I'm going to change the name very slightly, and I'm going to call it My Wedding Planner. And I'm going to click Save. And what I get is the Save As Template dialog box. Now, although I'm saving the current version of that plan as a template, there are certain things in it that Project suggests I might want to remove. So for instance, do I want to keep the values of all baselines? Well, this is going to be used for planning future projects, and therefore the baseline for the current wedding plan isn't really going to be of much use. So I think I'm going to remove that from the template. And I'm also going to remove the second item there, actual values. So no actuals related to the current project would apply to the future project. The next two items, resource rates and fixed costs, I'm going to leave those in the template. Now, obviously, I'm going to need to check them whenever I use this template in the future to make sure they haven't changed, but they are a good guide, so I suggest to keep those at the moment. The last option relates to publishing to the project web app, which is, again, outside the scope of this course, so I'm going to ignore that for the moment. So let's click on Save. And now, as you can see from the header, we now have a template file. It says myweddingplanner.mpt. Now, let me close this. So let's pretend that I'm now at some point in the future and I want to create a new wedding plan. So I'm going to go to New, which I'm in now. And once you've established a personal template folder, on the New page, you will see this pair of options, Featured and Personal. So obviously we're clicked on Featured at the moment and it's showing us all the featured templates. But if I click on Personal, that's going to show me all of the templates that I've saved into my templates folder. And you can see there we have My Wedding Planner. So I'm going to click on it to select it and click on Create. So now I have a new project based on my template, but with no baseline and no actuals, but resource rates, etc., inherited from the version 18 of the wedding plan as it was. So I can now start working on a new wedding. So that's it on saving templates. That's the end of this section. Please join me in the next one.